In the darkest hours of World War II, when hope seemed lost and humanity was at its breaking point, one woman stood against the tide of evil. This is the story of Irena Sendler, a Polish social worker whose courage and compassion saved over 2,500 Jewish children from certain death in the Warsaw Ghetto. As the camera pans across a somber, sepia-toned photograph of Warsaw in the 1940s, we hear the haunting whisper of children's voices echoing through time. The scene fades to black, and a single spotlight illuminates an elderly woman's weathered hands, gently cradling a small, worn jar. Irena Sendler was no ordinary hero. She didn't wear a cape or wield supernatural powers. Instead, her weapons were her unwavering resolve and an unbreakable moral compass. In a world consumed by hatred and fear, Sendler chose love and compassion. The Warsaw Ghetto, a place of unimaginable suffering, was where Sendler's story truly began. As a social worker, she had access to this sealed-off part of the city, witnessing firsthand the horrors inflicted upon its Jewish inhabitants. But where others saw only despair, Irena saw a chance to make a difference. With each passing day, the situation in the ghetto grew more desperate. Children, innocent victims of a war they couldn't understand, were dying of starvation and disease. Sendler knew she had to act, and act quickly. Under the cover of darkness, she began her clandestine operation. Using her position as a social worker, as a cover, Sendler devised ingenious ways to smuggle children out of the ghetto. The camera zooms in on a seemingly ordinary toolbox, its contents hidden from view. As it opens, we see not tools, but the terrified eyes of a young child, barely breathing in the confined space. But toolboxes were just the beginning. Sendler's creativity knew no bounds. She used every means at her disposal to save these precious lives. Ambulances carried sedated children, hidden under sewer pipes became secret passageways to freedom. Even coffins, symbols of death, were transformed into vessels of life, carrying sleeping children to safety. Perhaps most heartbreaking of all were the suitcases, tiny bodies curled up inside, praying for deliverance. As we watch a suitcase being carefully loaded onto a truck, we can almost hear the muffled sobs of the child within, torn from everything they've ever known. But Sendler's bravery came at a terrible cost. In 1943, her luck ran out. The Gestapo, Nazi Germany's secret police, had been watching her. They arrested Sendler, subjecting her to brutal interrogation and torture. The screen fades to black, and we hear the chilling sound of a cell door slamming shut. For days, Sendler endured unimaginable pain. Her captors demanded names, locations, anything that would lead them to the children she had saved. But Irena Sendler was made of sterner stuff. No matter what they did to her, she refused to break. Her silence was her final act of protection for the children she had come to love as her own. Miraculously, Sendler survived her ordeal. Members of the Polish resistance managed to bribe a guard, securing her release. But even as she nursed her wounds, Sendler's thoughts were not on herself, but on the children she had left behind. You see, Irena Sendler had a secret so precious, so vital, that it could mean life or death for thousands. In the quiet of her garden, beneath the watchful eyes of the stars, Sendler had buried jars. But these were no ordinary jars. Inside each one was a piece of paper, and on each paper was written a name. The real names of every child she had saved, along with their new, false identities. As the camera pans across the moonlit garden, we see Sendler's hands carefully digging in the soft earth. She pulls out a jar, cradling it as if it were the most precious thing in the world. And in many ways, it was. These jars were the only link between the children and their past, their heritage, their families. Sendler's hope was that one day, when the war was over, these children could be reunited with their families. She knew that many parents would not survive the Holocaust. But she believed that preserving the children's true identities was crucial. It was a promise to the dead, a bridge between past and future. The war eventually ended, but Sendler's work was far from over. She spent years trying to reunite children with any surviving family members. For those who had no one left, she worked tirelessly to find them loving homes. Her dedication to these children, her little stars as she called them, never wavered. Yet, for decades, Irena Sendler's incredible story remained largely unknown. While other heroes of World War II were celebrated, Sendler lived a quiet life in Warsaw. She never sought recognition for her actions, believing that she had simply done what any decent person would do. It wasn't until the late 1990s that Sendler's story began to come to light. A group of American high school students, researching for a history project, stumbled upon her name and were amazed by what they discovered. Their project, Life in a Jar, brought Sendler's heroism to the world's attention. As we see footage of Sendler in her later years, her face lined with age but her eyes still bright with compassion, we're struck by the enormity of what this one woman accomplished. She didn't just save lives. She preserved hope, culture, and the very future of a people targeted for extinction. Irena Sendler passed away in 2008 at the age of 98, but her legacy lives on in the thousands of descendants of the children she saved. Each of them is a living testament to the power of one person to make a difference, even in the face of unspeakable evil. As our story draws to a close, we return to that single jar, nestled in Sendler's hands. The camera pulls back, revealing not one jar, but hundreds, each containing a name, a story, a life saved. And as the screen fades to black, we're left with a powerful question. How many Irena Sendlers are out there today, working in silence, changing the world one life at a time? Irena Sendler. Remember her name, for in remembering her, we honor not just one hero, but the very best of humanity. In a world that often seems dark and hopeless, her story reminds us that one person, armed with nothing more than compassion and courage, can indeed change the world.